I'm Chip Townsend, and this is the Team Chip Podcast. Today on the Team Chip Podcast, we have the Mr. JT Cofer. Man, this guy started training with me when he was 4 years old, and he's way older than 4 years old. It's been over 20 years, and he is one of the best people I've ever met at being positive. He is just a ball of positive energy. And so today we're going to work on how to engage positive reinforcement on the mat for better results with your students. It's going to be awesome. Hey guys, I'm back again. Team Chip Podcast, Chip Townsend here. I am so excited today. Again, man, it's like every time I'm so excited because every time we got something great to share. Today I have the one and only Mr. JT Cofer. We're going to touch on the ideas and concepts kind of around positive reinforcement on the mat. But JT is an amazing man, recently married. He started training with us whenever he was 4 years old, correct, JT?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, 4 years old, and now he's really old. We're not going to divulge that because then you'd know how old I really am, right? Okay, so JT, welcome, my friend. Let's start with you introduce yourself. What's your rank? What's your position in the school? Maybe some of the positions you've held in the past, things like that. Just kind of share so people understand. One of the ideas with the podcast at this juncture with these guys is sharing some of the Team Chip team. You know, how did we go from that 57 student school where we were, you know, literally eating beans and rice and scraping by and living above the school to make it happen to $1 million revenue and, you know, a multi-location with an amazing team. And by the way, we didn't do any of that by ourselves. We did it with a team. So how'd you get, a little bit of your Team Chip backside, and then we'll dive into kind of how you got started in martial arts as well.
For sure. Yes, sir. So I am a 4th degree black belt. I am one of the chief instructors here at Team Chip Abilene. I do a lot of the background work kind of with our chief instructor, Mr. Manny, making sure things are running smooth, making sure that all our people are happy and everything's going well. And I'm also one of the captains of our demonstration team, making sure that we are getting out to our community, getting people involved, making sure they know where we are and what we do, and kind of running all of that as well.
Right. So I don't want to start digging in too deep too fast, but you said something that's already stuck out of my head. You said you're one of the chiefs, which you are, and you said kind of moving around making sure people are happy.
Yes, sir.
You mean in a martial arts school, do we care that people are happy?
We absolutely care that people are happy, because if they're not happy, then martial arts, one, becomes not fun at all, and that's what martial arts should be. It should be fun. But then if you're not happy, you're not going to pay attention to also the good things you're learning, like self-discipline and controlling your body, all that stuff.
Wow. That's good stuff. I mean, that's worth the weight of the podcast already. Martial arts should be fun, right?
Yes, sir.
Anyway, I could easily segue into that, but powerful stuff. Let's go ahead and keep moving. So you're one of the co-captains of the demo team. I love his humility because he really captains the demo team, but he does share that captaining across several of our other more experienced young instructors, right?
Yes, sir.
And that's one of the things that makes you so flipping amazing, JT. You share the spotlight so well. You pass on kudos. You don't take credit. You share the credit where it's due every time. And so anyway, so powerful. So go back. How did you stumble into martial arts? Give us a fun story from when you started. Give us something in the beginning. You started at 4 years old. Let's go.
Yes, sir. So I started at 4 years old, and the big thing is that, you know, whenever you're younger like that, most of the things is your parents are going to want you to find something. And so it was my mom that kind of went over, and she was like, we need to find him a self-defense. And so she brought me in the school, but she did not have to fight me at all. I was already wanting to be a Ninja Turtle, a Power Ranger, Spider-Man, anything that could punch, kick, or flip. I wanted to be it.
Nice.
And so I vividly remember we have 2 gyms. When we actually have 4 gyms, but we started my first class in the second gym, and before we had any mats. We just had the blue carpet there.
Right.
And I remember sitting there. You know, it's kind of overwhelming at first. I'm excited, but I'm also kind of scared. And I remember looking at one of the pillars and looking at Mom and said, watch this. I tried to climb up the wall like Spider-Man so I could escape the class. And so I didn't have to do the class.
Oh my gosh, that's great. Now you know what's going through that 4-year-old's head at the side before they get on the mat. Mom, can I get out of here? I'm going to climb the wall.
Yes, sir. So remember coming into the first class, the yelling was always the scariest part probably was the yelling, but once we got it in, a couple of our instructors at the time helped me ease into it. And then by class 2, my mom says I was just on it. I was ready to go, kicking.
Nice.
I felt like a Power Ranger. I felt like a Ninja Turtle. I was ready.
Nice. I'm going to venture out there to say that, gosh, out of our instructors, almost 100% started with us when they were in the like 4 to 7 year old range, right?
Yes, sir.
Currently, and have been with us for many, many, many years. And all of them went through some period where they wanted to quit or they wanted to give it up. And that includes myself. When I was a blue belt, I vividly remember having to talk with my parents about, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm not progressing. I was really kind of down on myself. And anyway, they got me through that whole different story. But JT, the reason I bring that up, JT, I don't remember ever seeing you go through that. I remember you being a go-getter, always positive. That's part of the always positive reinforcement. Mm-hmm. Always positive, amazing attitude, hard worker at all times. No matter how hard we pressed you, how hard we ground on you, you just kept coming back, and you actually you came back with a smile most of the time, and you were on it. So that's so powerful. So you tried to climb out of the building like Spider-Man.
That is true.
Yeah. You still do that sometimes.
I actually sometimes just for fun, I go over to that pillar. I remember that day and I put my hands on the wall. I'm like, oh, still can't be Spider-Man yet. Almost there.
What great memories, man. What a great memory. Well, let's kind of dive in just a little bit into this idea of positive reinforcement. I mean, what does that mean to you? And what are, any specific instances where you've used positive reinforcement in a way that you see a change in somebody? You just kind of run with it and share that with us. So what is that to you?
So positive reinforcement really just in general is in its word itself. You got to keep that positive mind. And it's really awesome because at this moment when we're in our cycle, we're talking about keeping a positive mind and one of our lines of our creed for our kids. And so positive reinforcement means a lot of the times we can look into something, we talk about running into a gym and getting a snapshot of something, and it might not look the way we want it. But the thing that positive reinforcement happens is that when I go in there, instead of going and looking and seeing all the negative, I go, oh man, I know that kid and I know that adult or I know that teen and I know their kicks can be a little better. And I go over there and maybe I go, hey, can you show me it really high? Oh man, that was awesome. And I rephrase that instead of just going in and going, you need to fix this. You need to fix that. Right. I go in there in that snapshot and I take the advantage that I have of one, being a new face and maybe exciting the people that are in there, but two, going in there and giving that kind of positive, hey, you're doing a great job. Let's keep it up. And that a lot of the times fixes any kind of problem any of the people are having with any kind of kick or technique. Also can get onto the attitude of positivity as they go. The biggest thing about positive reinforcement that I always think about too is that if you're going to have it, you're also going to need any kind of form of rapport with anybody.
Right.
You can't just kind of go in there. I can go to the cashier at any store and go, hey, how's the day going? And we can that's a positive reinforcement to their day. But what really impacts it is when you keep that rapport with them. Maybe I go into the same store multiple times and I still have that attitude of, hey, how's your day going? And that could change the whole day.
Yeah, you're consistent with them, right?
Exactly. Yes,
so
sir.
You said something that kind of stood out to me, and I want to make sure that everybody, I think, understands, because we talk about this in-house. And, you said when I get a snapshot. So what we're kind of talking about there, I think, is, you're chiefing a couple of gyms. And so you run into this gym, you're kind of hype manning the room, encouraging and edifying your instructors so that the parents can see and hear that. You zip back into the next room and something's off.
Exactly.
Right? And what we mean by snapshot is you never jump to a conclusion about that.
No, sir.
You take a deep breath, you scan the room, and you think to yourself, and I do this as well, I just caught a snapshot. I'm not going to get a knee-jerk reaction and run up and start correcting people. Let's give the room a minute to move. And man, for me, JT, I don't know how many times I've walked in and snapped judgment. This is not right. This is off. And I've gone up and gotten on an instructor or gotten onto a student for the instructor to say, hey, we were at this point in the class. I'm about to do that. And I go, oh gosh, that makes perfect sense now. I need to shut up and walk off the mat. So I think for like owners, school owners, chief instructors, and leaders, trust your team. If you put them out there, you should already trust them. Trust them to do their job and let them do it well, but don't make snap judgments out of those snapshots that you get of a room and go up and make corrections and embarrass somebody, embarrass a student, because it's easy to do, because you care and you're like, I need to fix that. So Man, that right there is so powerful, man. Just being patient and taking a breath and letting the class flow a little bit and see what direction it goes. And I guarantee most of the time you're going to go, okay, I caught a bad moment. It's okay. Or maybe I was off myself, right?
Yes, sir.
Can you give me any specific instance, maybe a story with a student where you've used some sort of positive reinforcement and, made a change with that student? You see them go from down to up or something like that. You've got good stories, so share me something.
Actually, I'll share one of just a recent one. So I have actually been doing private lessons with this one student for probably a good year and a half now, and they keep
Nice.
improving. We keep moving. But one of the instances that we've always had a little struggle with is always a board break.
Right.
We always have a little bit of trouble with board break, and that's actually quite common, quite normal. But the thing that really was there is that we talked about problem versus an obstacle. And so as I'm holding these bags and we're talking about the kick for their break, we're still not getting it. And I said, listen, there's two things you have. You have either problems or you have obstacles. A problem, it's always going to have a solution. An obstacle, you're going to have to overcome it. And I said, this board in front of you, that's going to be your obstacle.
Right.
And the click that I see, and you see it in their face too,
Right.
and probably a lot of the owners out there are going to know that I'm talking about. You see that click, that light bulb.
Right.
I know what you're talking about. And I've done lessons with a student a lot. There's been a lot of moments with clicks, but that for this thing that always is kind of the struggle was like a big light bulb. And every time I'm out like in a normal class with them, they were talking to me. Hey, this is an obstacle. I'm going to get over it. This is an obstacle. I got to do it. And we even had that talk yesterday in their private lesson. What if that board doesn't break? Then I'll hit it again. What if it doesn't break that time? Then I'll hit it again. What do? I hit it until it breaks. Yes, that's exactly right. So that was just a cool instance of kind of a positive reinforcement, because it's really easy to just go, hey, get your job done, do it, and just, suck it up and let's get it done.
Right.
But instead we can flip the phrasing of it and say, what are you going to do about it?
Right.
And that's the rapport I have with the student. Is now I'm to a point where I didn't have to start going, or when I started, it was more that, hey, let's go, we can do this. And now it's what are you going to do? Because they now have that trust in me from the rapport to know if I'm asking them a question like that, they know that they can do it. They have the confidence to get it done.
Nice.
But that rapport with that positive phrasing and that lesson just helps a lot, because now at this weekend, they're going to kill it. And I can see it in their eyes, and it's going to be epic. Right.
This weekend we have testing coming, and they're going to do a good job. So I love what you said about the rapport. It is about the relationship. So how do you navigate kind of a balance between, as an instructor, I know I've battled this many times, like nitpicking people and giving, constructive feedback. So can you talk to that just a little bit, like being kind of negative and just picking at the things you're doing wrong versus, finding something they're doing right and giving them something positive to chew on?
Of course. Yes, sir. And so I know I kind of sound like a broken record right now, but it really does go all back to what kind of relationship do you have with your students? What kind of rapport do you do? I always like to kind of go in, and in our school, I really like to be positive. I like to make sure that when I go into a room, there's some kind of life being brought into the room.
Right.
If I'm in there, I might go, and if the instructors are doing a good job, I might just go to one of the kids and be like, oh, and give them a high five and just kind of like make them miss a couple times, get another smile on the face.
Right.
But the difference between that nitpicking and then that positive, reinforcement as I go, I don't want to go in there and I have to make sure I'm reading the person's face. I have to have emotional intelligence. If I go in there, I could probably go to one of our black belts and say, you need to fix this. And they understand that.
Right.
That's that stuff I have. When I go to maybe more of our first starting ranks, that's more of the time where I'm going and saying, hey, let's move around. Let's do this. Let's switch it up a bit. I might more do a disguising repetition with them to let them understand, hey, this is where we're going. This is what we're doing. And the constructive feedback comes from me being in that positive phrasing as I go, hey, this is what we need to fix. This is how we fix it.
Right.
A lot of the phrases I use are, if you do this, you'll be golden.
Right.
And that's what I actually love to go to is, hey, if we just turn our knee a little bit, you'll be golden. And they love hearing you'll be golden.
Right.
Because that makes them go, oh, that means I'll be really good at this. And so it kind of gives into there versus, hey, you need to turn your leg. Let's go.
Right. Got it. So you add kind of a positive, like a gold nugget at the end of the phrase to kind of lift them up and give them something to shoot for. Something else that I liked is, and I think it's important that we think about this is, you're talking about a problem and an obstacle, but you don't just tell them how to fix it. You ask them. So you're teaching a couple of things by asking, what are you going to do to fix this or to overcome this? you're insinuating that you believe in them to do it by asking the question.
Yes, sir.
And then second, you're challenging them to solve the problem. And I think a lot of times in today's society, so many things get done for us. We, it's kind of cliche, but we have a microwave mindset. Like, I want it now. I want it fresh. I want it now. And we've lost kind of the crock pot mindset. And, a lot of times things are fast and easy. And when we come across something that's difficult, it's almost like, what do I do, right? And so what I love about what you're saying is by asking, what are you going to do? You're insinuating they can, but you're giving them a chance to think and engage their mind and problem solve. And that is so, so awesome. Can you give any other tips, any other things that you say and do to genuinely give positive feedback? Like, you're a master at walking in the room with a giant smile and people just light up. Like, you are the proverbial thermostat in the room a lot of times when you walk in and people are just like, yeah, JT's here, because you're exciting, you're outgoing, you're energetic. So talk to that just a little bit, how you lift those rooms.
Yes, sir. I think the easiest way to put it is I'm correctly pre-framing the class energy. And so when I go in and we all have our students kind of sit in a circle a little bit, kind of, talking to our students, hey, what do we do today? We're building that relationship. But when I walk in, I go, hey, are we going to have an amazing class today? Yes, sir. And sometimes if they're like, oh, I go, no, you're not. That's not it. Yeah. And then I go, are we going to have it? And, I'll walk away and I'll kind of snap my head back. Are we going to have a great class? Yeah. Yes, sir. And we have a good time. And so I just, the way I navigate that energy is I walk in the room and I just make sure that we're starting with we are going to do it.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like a performance. Any performance has peaks and valleys, and great performances typically start with a high.
Yes, sir.
And I love that because you said the word pre-frame.
Yes, sir.
You're pre-framing them. Are we going to have an amazing class today? Yes, we are, right? And getting that fire going. I love that. It's so important to pre-frame them. If I walk into a class and I go, all right, guys, I'm going to teach some really intricate stuff. It's going to be so hard. It's going to be killer. What kind of class do you want to have?
Bad class.
They're all going to be like, what the heck? But if I walk in and I go, guys, I have some amazing, cool stuff. You're going to have a blast. You're going to kill it. Are you ready for an amazing class? Boom. Our language and the way we present ourselves is just crazy. I loved how you said you walk away and you snap back at them. All right, guys, are we going to have it? And you change them. You make them smile a little bit. You engage their happy emotions, for lack of better words,
yes,
and get them moving in the right direction. So I was going to kind of contrast that a little bit with my first private lesson. Whenever I started here, I was 13 years old, and we were driving by this actual school that is our headquarters now. Anyway, long story short, I normally was not with my mom, but it was the very beginning of the summer. We were driving by, and I looked over and I saw the sign, and I said, I remember questioning myself, like, do I really want to ask my mom? Do I want to ask my mom for something? And so we're driving by, and I was like, Mom, I've always wanted to do that. She's like, what are you talking about? And I pointed back to the Taekwondo school, the karate school here, and I said, I want to do that karate stuff, right? And she looks at me and she's like, are you serious? I'm like, I am. So anyway, turn around, we come back. She signs me up for a month of private lessons. My first class was my instructor setting me in the doorway of the gym. And so this is also going to be a question for you. Would you do this, right? Set me in the doorway of the gym, and for 1 full hour, put me in different stretching positions and sat on my back and smashed me in stretches. And we left, got in the car, and we're driving home. And my mom looks at me and says, hey, you know how to hunt? You know how to shoot a gun? You know how to take care of yourself? I would be okay if you didn't ever go back again. And I remember thinking, what is she talking about? It was awful, man. It hurt so bad. And I was like, what is this guy doing to me? But I just couldn't let it go. I was like, absolutely not, Mom. I would not trade this for, I think the words that came out of my mouth, and I have no idea, were all the tea in China. I want to go back, right? And I never looked back again until blue belt, when I had that bobble and I thought I wanted to quit. But man, what a contrast. You're coming in and pre-framing for positivity, making sure that their minds are in the right place, having them leave the problems in their shoes and so on and so forth. So anyway, what do you think about that? Would you start a lesson like that? Where's your head on that?
No.
Pretty straightforward, right?
No, I wouldn't. It's crazy because I think about, your instructor probably saw, oh, this person needs flexibility and went to that. But the way I probably would more around that go is, all right, we need a little flexibility help. Let me go into it and go. And especially with flexibility, just kind of an off-topic thing, when I'm helping one of our students with flexibility, I'm usually talking to them the whole time. I'm distracting their brain from the pain.
Oh, I like that.
And so that they're going. And I have I have a couple of students that, once you're, hey, I want you to take a deep breath. As soon as you do, I'm gonna push you down. All right, yes, sir. That's that confirmation of you. I know what I'm about to do to you.
Right.
And so even though it's a little push, it gets them further down and further down. And then you give them that high five. Hey, that was the furthest I've ever seen you go. That's awesome.
Nice.
And so just kind of
You're
working
edifying, edifying their best. So real quick, this is something I wanted to throw in there that I think because of your humility, you're probably not going to bring up, but you're one of the most flexible people we've ever raised up here in the school. You still are, you're like 6'2" and a big, strong guy, right? Like a tank. And what I love is I go through and he's in a private lesson, or you're in a private lesson and you'll be center splits with your belly down on the floor making what we call a pancake. You exemplify what you expect from the students in those situations, right?
Yes, sir.
Talk about that a little bit. What does that mean to you and your students to be able to do that?
It's just basically the thing of like the general, are you going to be the general that sits in the back and just orders people to go? Or are you going to be the guy in the front line leading the group? And so
I like it. Now I would venture to say some generals jump in the front.
They do, for sure. They're both generals, but I would rather be the one that's in the front showing up, hey, let's do this, let's go.
I got you. That's awesome. So, I just love whenever I come in and see you teaching, but exemplifying. And I think that goes back to just, it's all cliche and simple stuff, man. But it's leadership by example, right?
Yes, sir.
Inspect what you expect. Get out there and do it and set a pace for people. And you do a phenom job of that. That's why I wanted you to come in and talk a little bit about it and kind of share some of your experience on that. So for a particular technique, let's talk just a tiny bit about the idea of praise, correct praise before we get out of here. So tell me about that. We call it the sandwich principle, or the stacked cookie kind of
I'll be real honest, it's my favorite thing to ever do.
Right.
I love praise, correct praise. One of the things that we talk about here, and it's kind of funny because we have a couple people, it's hard to give compliments. It is the opposite for me. I have a hard time not complimenting people because I always like to find the right. I always like to make sure they're feeling welcome and excited and smiling.
Nice.
And so compliments are really good.
Well, and I think that's what makes you an amazing chief, right? You
Yes,
like
sir.
to compliment people. You like to see the best in people. So yeah, keep going, man. That's
Yes,
awesome.
And so praise, correct praise, it's a beautiful thing. And so one of the things we do, I'll run a line and we'll have a kick, and one of the things is you got to watch, you have to have that emotional intelligence. Maybe I have a kid that's just kind of I use kids as an example because, just good example there. But maybe there's a kid and they are just slumped. They could be a rock star, but they're just slumping that day.
Right.
I find something I can, praise them on. Wow, hey, that, your round kick, you had amazing foot control there. I need you just to turn your pivot a little bit more. And I phrase it just like that. I need you to just turn it a little bit more.
It's not critical.
It's not critical.
That.
I'm not going, hey, do this. I'm saying, turn your foot just a little bit more. And then when they come up and they fix it, this is the important part. You got to notify, you got to edify, you got to say, wow, your pivot was so much better. Did you feel how powerful your kick was when you did that? That was awesome. And you always end with something that was awesome. That was epic. Way to go. Let's keep it up. that encouragement. So that praise, correct praise really comes in handy. And it's not just for martial arts. It's for any part of your life too. I do it all the time, outside, inside, anywhere I go. I like to praise, correct praise people, or just correct praise, whichever one it is, so that's really just the basis of the thing right there.
That's awesome. Well, do you have any experiences? Can you remember a time maybe someone threw a praise, correct praise at you that made a change in you or changed your direction?
I actually can. It was one of my first classes, and I was thinking about this. Like you said, I had flexibility, but when you're starting, you have flexibility, but no body control. And so I vividly remember hitting my face with a front stretch kick hard. Like I need my whole face. It was bad. And I was in tears. I think I was 4. Yeah. So I was in tears, and we had one of the instructors say, hey, that's okay. I do that all the time. And they showed a picture of like on the wall and be like, right there in that picture, I actually kicked my face. And they're like, we can keep going. And so they're saying it's okay. That's kind of a form of praise. We can keep going. That's the correction,
Right.
And the praise is, hey, that was awesome.
Right.
It doesn't have to be a specific technique. The praise, correct praise can be like, hey, that, it's okay. There's your praise. It's fine. The correction, we can keep going. Just keep doing it. That's
Right.
your correction. Don't stop. And then your praise again is, there you go. That was awesome. So I vividly remember that because I almost had to stay in the bathroom all day with a bloody nose.
I can almost guarantee I know which instructor it was.
Yes.
Because when she was a little girl, it was one of the female instructors. She would be in the front line as like a little red belt. She'd been training for a long time. And we'd be doing front stretch kicks, just a straight leg, straight up and down, as high, as hard as you can. And I would look at her, and I can't count how many times I would look at her in class. And she would have tears rolling down her cheeks. And she would be throwing those front stretch kicks like an absolute monster. And the first time I caught it, I said, "Hey, are you okay?" "I'm okay." I'm like, "What happened?" "I kicked myself in the face with my knee." And she would have like a big like red mark on her face and just keep banging and banging and banging. Another thing you said on this last one on your example that I think is really, really cool, you showed your own vulnerability. So what I mean by that, or the instructor that was working with you at that time, when they said to you, "Hey, I've done that before." Oh my gosh. When a student's messing up, and they see you as like this superhero that can't mess up, and you look them in the eye and give them an honest like, "Hey, I've done that too. I fell down last week just like that." All of a sudden, your correction means that much more. Exactly. It just became real and it became personal to them. Well, man, it has been so fun. So, young, married, life is going well. Do you have any words of wisdom that you'd like to share for other school owners, martial artists, young instructors, from any perspective, from teaching on the mat to running your demo team, anything?
I'd say just remember the important thing is rapport. If you want to have a good school, you're going to have a form of rapport with any kind of your students as you go. They need to know how much you care. They need to see that you're willing to get in front of them and to do all the stuff to show them how to do it.
Right.
But that rapport, that emotional intelligence, and then making sure that, at the end of the day, martial arts should be fun. You should have a ton of fun, even when it's pushing you and you're on the verge of tears or you're feeling like you're about to give out. At the end of that class, you're like, "Man, that was epic." That's where you got to remember. Keep having fun with your martial arts and keep having that rapport with your students.
Awesome. So rapport, relationship. We have to develop relationships. Even if there's 50 kids in a class, we've got to connect with each of those in some way. And we even got to connect with the parents, right?
Yes, sir.
And I think that's so powerful. All right, it makes me think of that saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And those relationships are so powerful. So good nuggets, great stuff. JT, thanks for jumping in with us today and sharing some of your experiences and your nuggets with us. Guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this, got some nuggets for yourself, your instructors, your schools. Man, like it, share it, and come back for more of it. We'll see you soon. Thank you for tuning into the Team Chip Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget, subscribe, share, and or leave a review because we need you. We appreciate you so much, and without you, we can't make this happen. Remember, consistency is the key to success, so go out there and never be outworked.